It's a lovely good evening and welcome to Camnet Television Main News. My name is Geoffrey Ziambo. Top stories in the news tonight. Former Defense Minister GEOFFREY MWAMBA nabbed and slapped with 26 charges. Zambia has financing deficit towards holding a national census, reveals MUSOKOTWANE. Mount Meru increases the buying price of cotton from 9 to 15 kwacha. In international news, civilians flee fighting as DRC accuses Rwanda of backing rebels. And in sports news, Zambia faces COMOROS in AFCON qualifier. Hello once again, another news in detail. The Lusaka High Court has restarted hearing a case of murder of a veterinary doctor, Evans Mwengwe, who was allegedly killed in 2021 by 5 people, among them a 23-year-old student who later ran away with his Mercedes-Benz. This follows the move by the state to add one more accused person to the murder charge. In this matter, Kenan Njere, 23, a businessman, Kigan Zulu, 38, a businessman, Josat Tembo, Wubala Mukatasha, and Doris Ndumba, 23, a female student, are accused to have between 10th and 12th June 2021 attacked and killed Dr. Mwengwe after he offered a lift from Kawe and got away with his vehicle and other items. More in this report.
The High Court in Lusaka has commenced rehearing testimonies from witnesses in the brutal murder case of veterinary doctor Evans Mwengwe, who was allegedly murdered in June 2021 by 5 individuals, among them a 23-year-old student. In June last year, the murder case of Dr. Mwengwe made headlines in different publications with information that he was found partially burnt and his body was discovered in Kabangwe area. This led to investigators arrest 4 suspects, namely Kenan Njere, 23, a businessman, Kigan Zulu, 38, a businessman, Josat Tembo, and Doris Ndumba, 23, a female student, and slapped them with a charge of murder contrary to Section 200 and aggravated robbery. But several days after trial commenced, the state entered a nolle prosequi in the case. However, the accused were rearrested and one accused, Mobala Mukatashi, was added to the charge, making the number of the accused persons increase to 5. Now trial has commenced once more in the case, and the Lusaka High Court has started rehearing testimonies from witnesses, with the first to be called on stand by the state being late Dr. Mwengwe's widow, Cecilia, giving a testimony. When the matter came before court Tuesday morning, the witness testified that her husband, the deceased, left home for Serenge on the 30th of May 2021 until June the same year. However, it was later discovered that he had been murdered. She told court during a further testimony that she was in touch with her late husband when he was coming back to Lusaka. However, communication was lost and was informed days later that he was found murdered and his body was dumped. Kenan Njere, Kigan Zulu, Joseph Tembo, Doris Ndumba, and Mubala Mukatachi are also facing a charge of aggravated robbery. They are said to have between 10th and 12th June 2021 attacked and killed Dr. Mwengwe after he offered them a lift from Kawe to Lusaka and got away with his vehicle and other items. Trial in this murder case continues for hearing before the High Court. Miriam Kaemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Chinsali Magistrates Court has acquitted former Home Affairs Minister Stephen Kampyongo in a case he was accused of endangering the safety of an aircraft contrary to the safety aviation. When the matter came up before court Tuesday morning for case or no case to answer, the court acquitted Mr. Kampyongo, who was jointly charged with 6 others. Allegations in this case were that the 6 endangered the safety of an aircraft that was carrying the United Party for National Development presidential campaign team in 2015. Meanwhile, shortly after his court appearance, Mr. Kampyongo accused the current administration of governing the country without proper direction. More in this report.
There was jubilation at the Chinsali Magistrate Court Tuesday morning when the court in the district acquitted former Home Affairs Minister Stephen Kampyongo and others from the offense he was accused of endangering the safety of an aircraft that was said to have been carrying United Party for National Development presidential campaign team in 2015. The court set at liberty Mr. Kampyongo after it found him and others with no case to answer for the alleged offense. However, it has placed Andrew Kampyongo on his defense and he will appear before court on the 7th of July 2022. And shortly after his appearance, the excited currently Shwangandu lawmaker addressed his sympathizers.
And I want to commend the judiciary through the subordinate court for adjudicating on this matter and ensuring that justice has prevailed. It's one thing for people to be tried in public perception, and it's another thing to be tried in the courts of law. So to come and allege that I was in the area where this was happening is very unfortunate. But at the end of the day, we would like to see police who are firm. And Inspector General, please, I wouldn't want to see the professional police officers who came here to tell the truth get victimized.
Those who are jointly charged with Mr. Kampyongo for the subject offense at this comment.
Musango banjikatiremo bampere umulandu kukalamba sana owakufa kubikendike mu busanso ero ikide kyakira ndati uyu mulandu bampere ero banjikete owakuka kwa myaka 15 kufika fena kufira mu kifungo nombo kusangwa kwa bati abanjikete kuntwala mu kukoti tapali nangumo wanumbulapo kuteko nali nangu mulimo nangumo nabombereko pakubike ndeke mu busanso so ikide cyaro shapo chebero uyu muntu lufyengo.
Inena umfabwino sana, justice has prevailed because mulandi bale pera wali kukalamba sana ndinshali kono kuba upato febro abantu ndanga bali kupata fe abantu atu abaso bakubika fe bali kupera fe Milan.
PF Chairperson for Legal Affairs George Chisanga had this comment.
This offense is a very serious felony, the punishment of which is 15 years imprisonment or life imprisonment. So it is only when the state has a very good case to try that they should even attempt to charge people under that section. But because they were informed by hatred and because their mindset was made up with what the president had said at the beginning, during his campaign, they thought it's an opportunity for them to bring Stephen to trial. They thought it's an opportunity for them to bring the rowdy people they believed, were committing crimes to trial and charge them with a very hideous offense of endangering an aircraft. But if you saw even how the court was examining, assessing the evidence, the court clearly stated that all the testimonies that were given by the state, none of it pinpointed any of those people and tied them to the crime.
Miriam Kaemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Police in Lusaka have arrested former Defense Minister GEOFFREY MWAMBA and slapped him with 26 charges. Deputy Police Spokesperson Danny Mwale says among the charges are 8 counts of conflict of interest in a matter where Mr. Mwamba, while being Minister of Defense between 2012 and 2013, failed to disclose his interest in writing on 3 Zambia Army contracts and 5 Zambia Air Force contracts that were awarded to Corazon Global Limited by the Ministry of Defense. Mr. Mwale also says Mr. MWAMBA has been charged for one count of money laundering amounting to 632,000 United States dollars and 15 counts of being in possession of property reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime. And leader of the opposition in Parliament, Brian Mundubile, says he is disappointed that the police have refused to grant Mr. MWAMBA bond when the offence he has been charged with are all bondable. More in this report.
There was heavy police presence at Lusaka's Woodland Police Station, where former Defense Minister GEOFFREY MWAMBA, who is also a Patriotic Front die-hard member, was being questioned for various suspected offences. After a few hours of interrogation, Mr. MWAMBA was finally arrested and will appear before the courts of law Wednesday, 18th June 2022. And police deputy spokesperson Danny Mwale has informed the media that Mr. MWAMBA has been slapped with 26 charges. He says among the charges is 8 counts of conflict of interest, 1 count of money laundering involving a total sum of 632 million United States dollars, 15 counts of being in possession of properties reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime involving a sum of 20 million kwacha.
This is in a matter where Mr. GEOFFREY MWAMBA, when he was Minister of Defense between 2012 and 2013, failed to disclose his interest in writing on 3 Zambia Army contracts and 5 Zambia Air Force contracts that were awarded to Kazon Global Limited by Ministry of Defense. He has also been charged and arrested for 1 count of money laundering. Allegation involved a sum of 632,000 US dollars. Further, Mr. GEOFFREY MWAMBA has been charged and arrested for 15 counts of being in possession of property reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime.
Mr. Mwale has also named another person arrested with Mr. MWAMBA as Adolphus Mubanga of Makeni, who has been slapped with 3 counts of being in possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime, involving a sum of 5,555,954 kwacha.
In the same matter, Mr. Adolphus Mubanga, aged 58, of plot number 11438 Makeni in Lusaka, has been charged and arrested for 3 counts of being in possession of property reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime, contrary to Section 71, subsection 1 of the Forfeiture of Proceeds of Crime Act number 19 of 2010, involving a sum of 5 million kwacha.
And leader of the opposition, Brian Mundubile, who visited Mr. MWAMBA Tuesday afternoon, says he is disappointed at the conduct of the police, who have refused to grant bond to Mr. MWAMBA despite meeting the bond conditions, where 10 members of parliament from the Patriotic Front were willing to sign the bond.
The question remains, the question that begs is who is telling the truth or who is not telling the truth. Is it that the police are deliberately disobeying the presidential directives? Or is it that somebody somewhere is telling the police that forget about what I say out there, just do as I tell you when cameras are not pointed at me?
And Patriotic Front acting president Given Lubinda says the people of Zambia will soon regret having voted the Patriotic Front out of office, and has thanked the party cadres who visited Woodlands Police to offer solidarity for their good behavior.
He has been charged on an offense which is highly bailable, and the ordinary thing would have been for the police to grant him bond. The fact that they have denied him bond is denying him his freedom, unduly so. And when we say that Zambia is speedily becoming a police state, this is exactly what we mean.
For now, Mr. MWAMBA will have to spend the night in the court at Woodlands Police Station. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Mpika Central Member of Parliament Francis Kapyanga has called on the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development to urgently review the Constituency Development Fund's guidelines if the program is to bear fruit. Mr. Kapyanga says the current guidelines are difficult to be understood by the majority citizens who do not possess education qualifications. He is of the view that the delay in the CDF project's implementation is due to the long project approving process, which is only done in Lusaka. Mr. Kapyanga has since challenged the Ministry of Local Government to ensure that the CDF guidelines are revised in accordance with the needs of the people and respond to various challenges being faced in different societies.
the bulk guidelines that the ministry has introduced has also slowed the implementation of CDF projects. I know His Excellency the President is on record to have said that he wants speedy implementation of CDF projects, which is not the case right now. I'll give you an example. We are in the second quarter running to third quarter. We have only received about 5.6 million, which is just for boarding school bursaries and also skills development. But even that, no single way has been disbursed because we still have to send the list back to Minister of Local Government for final approval. The forms that we are using for capturing the projects that the community want and also the empowerment forms are forms that can only be understood by people who are learned. Unlike most of our people in rural areas who lack the understanding of certain terms, that should actually be.
Minister of Agriculture Ruben Mtolo-Piri says the nitrogen chemicals of Zambia NCZ is not able to fully provide fertilizer needed in Zambia's agriculture sector due to the rundown of equipment. Speaking in Parliament Tuesday, the minister says the government will continue buying a minimum of 50,000 tons of fertilizer from the company while importing the rest of the fertilizer as the current administration does not have enough funds to revamp it. He, however, says the ministry will continue supporting the company by buying all the fertilizer that it is able to produce locally.
Level of depreciation of the equipment, NCZ have indicated to me that they can produce close to 80,000 metric tons. Out of that, we as government have said to them, if you can produce 50,000, we will buy it from you. And I've also said to them, if you can do better, we will buy the extra. So we are expecting from that company, which indeed has been run down, to buy from them 50,000. Honorable member, they are able to produce. If you go to NCZ now, you will find production at NCZ. So, Madam Speaker, I'm assuring the nation through this House that NCZ will be allowed to produce whatever they can, and we will buy from them 50,000 minimum. 50,000 metric tons. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Mount Meru Group Zambia has increased its cotton purchasing price from 9 kwacha to 15 kwacha in view of stimulating cotton production in the country. Company Managing Director Damesh Patel has told Camnet News that cotton farmers have been less motivated, hence production has been declining from over 200,000 metric tons in the recent past to 25,000 metric tons currently. Mr. Patel says the company's short-term target is not to make profits, but to regenerate the interests of farmers in growing cotton. He says they want to take a lead in addressing sector concerns that farmers who grow the crop have over the years been facing, such as getting their fair prices from cotton companies, the quality of inputs, the quality of seed, and poor extension services. He notes that the failure to safeguard the plight of farmers may limit the growth of the cotton industry, stating that it may lead to the closure of its factories. And Mr. Patel has told Camnet News that currently the firm is supporting 21,600 cotton farmers.
MERU had pegged the cotton at a price of 10 kwacha. Last year we were buying cotton at 9 kwacha. What we have found is the cotton crop in Zambia has dropped from levels of over 200,000 tons of harvest to almost 25,000 tons. In a bid to now promote or motivate farmers to grow cotton, we feel it's very, very necessary that there's financial benefit for our farmers to grow cotton. As a result of that, we're now going to announce a price of 15 kwacha for the cotton to farmers, 15 kwacha at farm gate, at farmers. The transport to Lusaka to our gym is our cost, so the farmer will get 15 kwacha for the cotton. And we just think that the cotton industry, the cotton harvest industry is diminishing. It's competing highly with other crops like soya, sunflower. We've got a cotton ginnery where we gin. We've got a cotton crushing plant. Our crushing plant can take 50,000 tons per annum of fuzzy seed. So that means 100,000 tons of cotton would have to be ginned for it to feed our plant. Plants like ours, where we have soya crushing, sunflower crushing, and cotton crushing, we survive and we rely heavily on farmers, both big and small.
Finance Minister Situmbeko MUSOKOTWANE has charged that the 2022 Census of Population and Housing has a financing gap of 309 million kwacha, which is to be cleared before end of June 2022. Speaking at the 2022 Population and Housing Donor Roundtable meeting in Lusaka Tuesday, Dr. MUSOKOTWANE says government has so far managed to disburse 658 million kwacha against the budget of 967 million kwacha. The minister has since appealed to stakeholders, the private sector and cooperating partners to come on board and help finance the shortfall. Meanwhile, Secretary to the Cabinet Felix Nkulukusa says government will be forced to cancel some programs in the national budget in order to finance the census budget deficit if stakeholders do not come on board. More in this report.
The Census of Population and Housing is the biggest national resource that acts both as an input into the development programs and as a measure of the impact of various development programs embarked on by government, NGOs and other stakeholders. Zambia, however, failed to hold a census in 2020 owing to various factors, among them lack of resources. The census, which has already been postponed twice, is now set to be conducted from 17th August to 14th September 2022. The challenges of resources have, however, persisted, and government says if it does not manage to raise the remaining deficit to finance the census budget, then government will be left with no option but to go to Parliament and look for a supplementary budget, which will mean cancelling some developmental programs from the 2022 national budget. Secretary to Cabinet Felix Nkulukusa said this at the 2022 Population and Housing Donor Roundtable meeting held in Lusaka Tuesday.
Today's meeting is critical for the successful conducting of the 2022 Census of Population and Housing, which has already been postponed twice. The main objective of the meeting is to appeal to you, our cooperating and development partners, to help government close the funding gap in the census.
And Finance Minister Dr. Situmbeko MUSOKOTWANE, who spoke virtually, has explained that the total budget for the 2022 Census of Population and Housing stands at 967 million kwacha. Out of the amount, the government has funded a total of 658 million kwacha, leaving a deficit of 309 million kwacha.
You can tell that from the budget of 967, there is a financing gap of 309 million kwacha. 309 million kwacha. Let me say that it is a big challenge for us to find this money, the 309 million.
Meanwhile, Zambia Statistical Agency Interim Statistician General Molenga Musepa says the agency is waiting on Cabinet to approve the budget for the recruitment of enumerators and field officers.
Recruitment, the key thing here, we're waiting for the Cabinet approval of the recruitment guidelines. Number of staff to be trained, national trainers already trained, now to be district coordinators, IT staff, zonal census coordinators, supervisors, enumerators.
And the United Nations Population Fund, UNFP, has handed over additional bicycles to the agency and has pledged to knock on the doors of companies to help the Zambian government meet the census budget.
It's the cooperating partners that my two colleagues that I asked to stand up earlier will be doing a door-to-door visit to the cooperating partners, because we really do not want to put you on the spot, just to get to appreciate how you support this government initiative, which is very important for policy decisions, for programming, and for getting us to 2030, as it has been mentioned.
Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Some traders at Lusaka's Chifundo Kondanani market in Mandevu constituency are appealing to the government to reduce the quantity of raw timber that is being exported. Speaking to Camnet News, the traders say due to the high quantity of raw timber being exported, the local markets have shortages, which in turn affects their business as they are forced to use low quality timber. More in this report.
The furniture industry seems to be a sustainable sector that, with the right support and incentives, can make Zambia the #1 exporter of furniture products in the Southern African region. It is for this reason that some carpenters at Chifundo Kondanani market of Mandevu constituency are calling upon government to ban the export of raw timber, stating that Zambia can benefit more if value is added to the timber locally. In an interview with Camnet News, one of the carpenters, Mr. Patrick Piri, says carpenters are struggling to find quality wood as most of it is eaten by termites.
Timber is very much important to business here. So the government is exporting, meaning that the buyer is a mandate for carpenters when it is local. Like last recent the challenges they say timber good timber is going to export where the goods from countries in the look of the Sahara and the timber is not to do. So it's a challenge police in terms of to go about timber is only even a business here too. The customers are complaining about the same timber. So I think I should say emphasize the government what the government is in terms of timber. Stuff we export also or maybe not export in but this year is Zambia so that the life will benefit.
Meanwhile, another carpenter, Mr. Faston Piri, says Zambia's carpenters are fully skilled and only need policy support as well as empowerment to procure machinery to carry out this business on a larger scale.
Carpenters are back. Product amenities pangama minimum. Sometimes we can make some, even not sometimes, but we can make a sofa that we can export it. Even the government is going to my machinery and everything. I think in that one they can be best. Zambia can be the best furniture producer in the center. Because by they are doing on their own. If there is some help from schools, skill training schools, then they don't know to do nothing. Then government can be helping in the way.
Munga kunkania timba ndiye timankara nayo kuti na challenge na yevu mostly munga ro timba sembeva government itigazirako kuti ya kuli quality yanifunga tisenza local then kuli quality na manenga sta import munga for example mamukwa mawatu but munga iro timba kwa like pine ifunga trisi se local nasi tachitako benefit then china mfuti ni hapo wati ma licenses ya timba yamankala very difficult kuti ipeze kwankhala cheli vantu vamozi namozi vane na ma-licenses so aise futi inkhala yoti durecho kuti tigula kuli vaja vane na license.
Stakeholders in the timber industry have been arguing that Zambia is not fully benefiting from its timber, as a truck of raw timber can be sold at 20,000 kwacha. The same timber is then brought back into the country in form of finished products for Zambians to buy. If fully leveraged, the timber industry can create mass employment and contribute significantly to the country's economy. Cherish Sibote for Camnet News, Lusaka.
This is Camnet Television Main News. We'll take our first commercial break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
Team, the trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the... She has so much data.
Mom?
Yes, baby?
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow!
Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
We take risks every day, with some big things and some little things. Other risks are out of our control. But no matter what's important in your life, Savenda Insurance has got you covered. Whether it's for your home, vehicle, investments, or the people you love, you shouldn't have to worry about securing the future. Let us handle that. Since 2014, we have helped Zambians protect their health and personal property, offering peace of mind and fostering progress and development. Taking risks is what makes us grow. Insurance is what keeps us going strong.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the news. Civil Society Scaling Up Nutrition Alliance CSO Sun Country Coordinator Matthew Zumuhuru has called for strengthened measures in ensuring that food safety is guaranteed in the country. Mr. Muhuru notes that the Food Safety Act of 2019 has not been utilized to enhance the country's food safety. He says the Ministry of Health should rise and strengthen food safety matters in the country and follow up on cases of foodstuffs that compromise the public health of the country. Mr. Muhuru was, however, quick to note that Zambia has good policies with a lot of inefficiencies in implementation. More in the following report.
The World Food Safety Day is observed on the 7th June every year since 2018 to raise awareness and strengthen food safety measures with the purpose of drawing global attention to the health consequences of contaminated food and water. According to the World Health Organization, nearly 600 million people fall sick and 420,000 die globally every year because they consume food contaminated with bacteria, viruses, parasites, toxins or chemicals. Concerted efforts to promoting food safety in Zambia still remains a challenge, and Minister of Health Sylvia Masebo Tuesday assured that the ministry is working with all stakeholders in the food industry through various committees such as the National Codex and the Sanitary and Phytosanitary Committees to ensure that the safety of food is guaranteed. But Civil Society for Scaling Up Nutrition Alliance Country Coordinator Matthew Muru notes that the country lacks enforcement of the food safety laws. He explains that safety of food in the country is compromised as authorities show inconsistency to enforcing them.
Zambia has made a lot of progress by repealing the Food and Drug Act, which was quite old, and now we have the Food Safety Act of 2019 that has a lot of good provisions that can actually protect the public if utilized quite well. Food safety, unless if they are flagged maybe in a shopping mall or in a supermarket, that's the only time that we see the authorities that are charged, with functions of, just the implementation of the Food Safety Act coming out, but they have not really played a proactive role of preventing all these food safety concerns before they happen. So
Mr. Muru further explains that the importation of food products that contain genetically modified organisms, GMOs, pose a threat to promoting local products. He says the Ministry of Agriculture should implement effective policies that are aimed at promoting local food products.
I want to see a move by the Ministry of Agriculture and other players to promote more of the local foods so that we can consume them and we protect our public health, local foods, because we know that especially for the indigenous foods, they're actually more healthy unlike the genetically modified foods that are being imported on a large scale, whose safety concerns are not known, or even just through the production. Currently we are not checking whether those foods that we are importing in the country have got other elements that might compromise just public health and just the health of individuals.
This year's World Food Safety Day has been observed under the theme Safe Food, Better Health. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News in Lusaka.
Complaints from Southern Province Minister Cornelius Mwetwa that the teacher recruitment exercise in his province did not follow due procedure may delay the whole recruitment process, charges the Professional Teachers Union of Zambia, ProTUS. In an interview, ProTUS General Secretary Mr. Kangwa Musenga argues that the teacher recruitment exercise has been politicized, as those are matters that can be handled in private. Southern Province Minister Cornelius Mwetwa recently indicated that the teacher recruitment exercise in Southern Province has no blessings of the Southern Provincial Administration Office, as it did not participate in the exercise. More in this report.
The recruitment of 30,000 teachers and over 11,000 health workers has had the country on edge for months now, as these are two important recruitments, considering that it has been years since mass recruitment was carried out in the civil service. The alleged slow process of the teacher recruitment exercise in particular has worried stakeholders in the education sector. Minister of Education Mr. Douglas Yakalima in April, when giving out the teacher recruitment calendar in Parliament, indicated that names for the selected candidates were supposed to be published on 17th and 18th May of 2022, but this has not yet been done. Southern Province Minister Mr. Cornelius Mwetwa also recently came forward, alleging that the provincial administration in his province was left out of the exercise, causing anxiety on whether this will further delay the process. Professional Teachers Union ProTUS General Secretary Mr. Kangwa Musenga, who also commented on the cancelled date swap for civil servants, says the matter should not be politicized, as those issues should be handled in private.
But our concern is the particular petition now, which have started coming up. We have Mushindano, we have Southern Province. Are they overpowering the Ministry of Education now? Is the Teaching Service Commission becoming toothless? Or we want to render the Teaching Service Commission like the previous Teaching Service Commission? We sympathize with the thousands of teachers who were caught up in the issue of the debt swap. But you see, we all know too well that at one point this was a political game. And we want to appeal to the new government that those who were proponents of the debt swap from government, the former permanent secretary, PSMD, the former vice chairperson, civil servants, civil service commission, the chairperson for the former teaching service commissioner chairperson, the former permanent secretary, Minister of Labour, the government should deduct from them.
Meanwhile, Basic Educators Teachers Union Betu spokesperson Mr. Kavika Kakunta says the union has sent a team to investigate the happenings in Southern Province.
Our appeal as a labour movement is that let's allow the process of teacher recruitment be managed by the Teaching Service Commission, but also we know that government talks to each other. The minister, the Teaching Service Commission, the DEB's office, the PO's office, all these institutions, we know that they talk to each other and they must be able to talk to each other. So that ultimately at the end of the day, we are going to have a process that will be acceptable by all stakeholders.
Meanwhile, National Union for Public and Private Educators of Zambia NUPE Secretary General Mr. Nelson Mwale has called for calm among applicants in Southern Province.
I also want to take this opportunity to call upon, the provincial administration in Southern Province to sit down on a round table with the Teaching Service Commission, so that at the end of the day, they harmonize their differences and the names are published, because our people are waiting. Remember, the 30,000 teacher recruitment has been, massive, and it's long overdue.
Stakeholders in this sector have been calling for the process to be expedited, failure to which this will raise questions about the availability of funds. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Market wrangles at Lusaka's Comesa Market, where over 22 traders had their makeshift stands demolished by former Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Catherine Namugala, on the premise of them being located in front of a shopping complex, have continued. A check by Camnet News at the site found that the traders had made tables and are still selling at the same site, citing lack of adequate market space. However, a check by Camnet News at Tokyo Way Market along Ring Road found the market almost isolated, as most traders prefer trading in the Central Business District CBD. More in this report.
This is Lusaka's Comesa Market, which has been characterized by many wrangles of recent, latest of which is the alleged demolition of 22 makeshift stores by former Speaker in the National Assembly, Catherine Namugala, on the basis of them being located in front of a shopping complex, but she has declined to comment on. The traders have been fighting running battles with the above-named, confiscated, and the makeshift stores demolished in May of 2022. Harry Mwanga Ward 12, who is the area councillor, says a map has been formulated by the Lusaka City Council, which will see the traders being given part of the road reserve as a measure before the construction of more markets.
That is trying to bring to confusion. That's why the same place is where these marketers, for now, is where they're trading from. So we are trading. We are giving in Namugala. I'm giving 24 hours to remove the quarry there and put it to a place so that these women they can continue, because that is a process of harassment. How can you put a quarry where they're supposed to be trading from? So let her remove that. I'm giving her 24 hours to remove that quarry which is there. It's not a place. It's the place for council. And these are marketers. It's where they are putting their tables as for now.
The traders who are now selling on tables allege that they're still fighting running battles with political party cadres who have allegedly been hired to harass them. One of the affected now narrates.
So chipezeka kuti aba bantu bali kuli Namugala bamene bene Vincent babwera batichita harasi kuli aba bamene batantika pa matebo babapisha kutantika pa matebo ati musazitantika apa pa matebo bati nishisila ndi yawo so mazo pa Thursday nebenzofuna nonipaya anabwera na chinsimbi nobwera ni kupanya mu Nyamata winango no menya bafana maningi naine noni chitakwendo.
The traders add that the goods which were confiscated by the accused during demolition have still not yet been given to them, nor have they been compensated.
Bantu tapai vote mune filete tikana nkubi kama tebo kule wale bika kuifuma sandi fuma kwali so tatuishile mwandini ofochidi bantu twaliruza makontena fwe bambi twalemanga ma 45 pini plus katundo amakontena twamanga pokabidi mwamone so nomba tatuishile mwandini filete kama mwandini ka ground twapapata mtu afirishe.
Our main appeal is that for government to look into our matter. It's seriously affected us in such a way that we are unable to provide for our families.
Chinaipa chabe we amene wanapwanyira ku mashopu senze ya musho using amakata upanya mashopu senze musho ropangono.
While this is the case, stakeholders in the market sector have been charging that most markets outside the Central Business District have been abandoned in preference for fast business. A check by Camnet News at Tokyo Market along Ring Road found that this is the case, as the market is sparsely populated. There have been calls for more sensitization to see traders occupying markets out of the CBD, as this will reduce the problem of inadequate trading places in the CBD. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Government has challenged statutory bodies in charge of registering business entities to reduce the cost of registration. Commerce, Trade and Industry Minister Chipoka Mulenga notes that the current high cost of registration for business entities is a barrier to business growth. Mr. Mulenga says statutory bodies must not take advantage of registration fees to operate their institutions, but should be used for administration purposes only. The minister was speaking during an induction workshop on corporate governance for 3 institutions, among them the Competition and Consumer Protection Law board members in Chongwe. More in this report.
The government seeks to get the Zambian economy to a growth trajectory through competition. But these efforts can easily be frustrated if the markets continue to be riddled with practices that hinder access to markets. Some of the things that government wants to work on is the overregulation that may hinder investment and prevent business entry. Speaking during an induction workshop on corporate governance and competition and protection law, Zambia's Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, Chipoka Mulenga, has challenged statutory bodies that are in charge of registering business entities to reduce the costs.
Extensively in research and forensic investigation before we even pounce on the perceived erring business players. Because we'll be a laughing stock if we pounce on them, yet we find nothing. They'll end up suing us for damages that they would not have suffered. So I would engage you and advise you, Director and the Commissioners, that before we even pounce on anyone, let's find a very professional manner on engaging them. That even when we engage them, they draw lessons that they were erring players. Because in the manner we engage, others even get frustrated and they even become more malpracticing players than they are supposed to be.
And Competition Consumer Protection Commission Executive Director Chilufya Sampa notes that through the workshop, audit queries will be reduced. In this case, the audit queries come from 3 institutions, namely Competition Consumer Protection Commission, CCPC, Common Marketing for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, including the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
This is because we realize that our institutions can only be effective and efficient if they follow good corporate governance principles and practices. I want to thank the COMESA Competition Commission, our regional competition and consumer protection agency, for facilitating and sponsoring this workshop. We as a country are grateful.
Meanwhile, COMESA Executive Director Dr. Willard Mwemba has urged government to support CCPC.
Your economy is very fundamental. The CCPC's role cuts across all sectors of the economy. It is therefore very important that the CCPC, Honorable Minister, is supported. Competition law, I always say this, competition law is like a Bill of Rights. The way the Bill of Rights is viewed to be sacrosanct is the way competition law should be viewed.
Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with international and sports news.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
We take risks every day, with some big things and some little things. Other risks are out of our control. But no matter what's important in your life, Savenda Insurance has got you covered. Whether it's for your home, vehicle, investments, or the people you love, you shouldn't have to worry about securing the future. Let us handle that. Since 2014, we have helped Zambians protect their health and personal property, offering peace of mind and fostering progress and development. Taking risks is what makes us grow. Insurance is what keeps us going strong.
Welcome back. And now in international news, more than 72,000 people in DR Congo have been displaced as fighting intensifies between government forces and rebel groups accused of being backed by Rwanda. And in other news, the man who has tried and failed to become Kenya's president 4 times is running for office again. This time, though, Raila Odinga has the backing of the political establishment, which has worked against him in the past. Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta has endorsed his former arch-rival for the country's top job weeks after their parties joined forces ahead of the presidential and parliamentary elections in August. For more in international news, here's a roundup.
I don't want this life. It's not good. I sleep outside even in the rain, hungry. This is the 5th time we have fled fighting.
I sleep in bad conditions and my children have no food. The others receive donations, but we are deprived of them. My newborn baby lives very badly. He lacks clothes and food.
The first time we fled the AFDL rebels. The second time we fled the CNDP. The third time we fled the M23. And this 4th time we have just fled the M23 again.
We intend to implement a mental health project to support the displaced psychologically. We are trying to find out what the real problems are, what's wrong, and how to solve them through awareness raising, distribution of food and non-food items. So we would like to call on other organizations to support us.
Scenes of heavy fighting in North Kivu, Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, where clashes between the M23 rebel group and the army have displaced tens of thousands in recent weeks. The fighting has sparked concerns that Goma, the capital city of the region, would fall, and there have also been fears that the crisis could trigger a regional conflagration by drawing in neighboring Rwanda. On Monday, heads of the armed forces of the East African Community, EAC, met in Goma to discuss the situation.
Que tous les groupes armés étrangers actifs en République démocratique du Congo.
All foreign armed groups active in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, are to be disarmed and returned immediately and unconditionally to their respective countries of origin. Otherwise, they will also be considered as negative forces and be subject to military action by the sub-region East Africa Community.
À cet effet, à une action militaire de la sous-région.
The process of setting up a sub-regional force to combat negative forces should be immediately by the DRC.
Destiné à combattre les forces négatives, soit amorcé immédiatement par la République démocratique du Congo.
Representatives of the DRC, Burundi, Uganda, South Sudan were present at the meeting. Others included those of MONUSCO and Kenya.
Peace and security is of utmost importance. And this is the very reason we are meeting here to find solutions to peace and security in this part of the Eastern African region.
The new wave of violence in Congo has displaced tens of thousands since May, most of them now living in shelters and churches in Goma, where a visit of the Pope is expected at the beginning of July.
It's election season in Kenya.
Raila Odinga has run for president 4 times before. He launched his manifesto at an event in the capital, Nairobi.
We'll declare corruption a threat to national security and establish a specialized department in the security agencies for corruption surveillance. This we shall do within our first 100 days in office.
Raila's been involved in politics since the 1980s, mostly in opposition. He's never been declared the winner of an election, although many believe he's been rigged out of victories before. This time, some things have changed. It's the first time that Raila Odinga is running with the support of the incumbent, outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta, with the support of the families that have dominated Kenyan politics and business ever since independence from British colonial rule nearly 60 years ago. The first time that he's the chosen candidate of the historically dominant political establishment. It's the kind of backing that his main rival, William Ruto, had once hoped for. He's been deputy president in the last 2 governments. 10 years ago, Ruto teamed up with Uhuru Kenyatta. At the time, both were facing charges at the International Criminal Court for orchestrating crimes against humanity in the violence that followed the previous election in 2007. The charges were later dropped after witnesses retracted their statements. Uhuru and Ruto's relationship since deteriorated. So Ruto's running without the support of his former ally. In spite of being in government for 9 years, he's now promising change.
Our problem is inequality. Our economic model in the last 5 decades has been trickle-down type, which has only benefited the few, creating haves and have-not, who are just hustlers. We aim to change this economic model.
Kenya's past elections have been marred by irregularities, allegations of rigging, and sometimes violence. This time, allegiances have shifted and factions.
Their first match played against the Elephants of Ivory Coast by 3-1. Their first match played against the Elephants of Ivory Coast by 3-1. Meanwhile, here is how Group H stands at the moment.
On the left-hand side, he's full of goals as well, but it's that Comoros look to steal in some terrible communication, and there is certainly an opportunity at goal, and it is excellently taken by the Coelacanths. What a smash and grab. And Sabata misreading it. Well, it was Mayembe's miscontrol at first, but then Tandi Mwape seeking to head it back, and Sabata just not able to his left foot. And it is the free kick, just hitting the wall. Fashion Sakala with his roaches. But that's a disappointing ball. Second shot, and it is a goal. Very well taken. Beautifully controlled. Chesting it down even. So much time on the ball to drill it past the goalkeeper. It was going nowhere, the corner kick, but brilliantly taken on the goes in the way of the Zambia situation. Evans Kangwa. Magnificent. Just finding that area between the diving stretch of the goalkeeper and the post. Nothing that Ahamada could do. His positioning was right in the...
Congratulations to the boys for that well-deserved victory. To end the news, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Former Defense Minister GEOFFREY nabbed and slapped with 26 charges. Zambia has a financing deficit towards holding a national census, reveals MUSOKOTWANE. Mount Meru increases the buying price of cotton from 9 to 15 kwacha. And in international news, civilians flee fighting as DRC accuses Rwanda of backing rebels. In sports news, Zambia wins by 2-1 against Comoros. We now look at the Camnet verse of the day, which is coming from Psalms 90, verse 2. Before the mountains were born, or you brought forth the whole world, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. Thank you once again for watching Camnet Television News. My name is Geoffrey Ziambo. Good night.